Hello again, I am Blunty, and this of course is the Nintendo 3DS. Now, I've made a few other videos about the 3DS already, but it's time to find out if it's worth buying. Naturally, there are many people out there who have already answered this question for themselves. People like me who will give any new platform a go to see what it has to offer to discover if it can provide fun and fascination for at least long enough to justify its recommended retail price. There are the loyal Nintendo fanboys and girls who gleefully accept anything with Link, Mario, or a few hundred Pokemon on it into their lives without a second thought and have had this unit pre-ordered since the instant their nearest game store would allow them to fist over the cash. And there are even the Sony fanboys out there who somehow find it personally offensive that other people might enjoy something that isn't branded with PlayStation. These people who barely refuse to accept even the existence of such a device and get aggressively irritating about it all over the place. I am not here to justify your purchasing decision. I am not here to give you weapons with which to spread hate across the internet. This video is for people who haven't made up their minds yet. So let's take a quick tour of the hardware. It's about the same size as the DSi, it flips open in much the same way, though due to the weird design choice, which has meant the top lid is slightly bigger than the bottom half, it's actually a bit easier to get purchased to flip it open than the more smooth and consistent lines of the DSi. Inside you find the two screens, and again, like its predecessor, the bottom screen functions as a touchscreen. The resolution has been bumped up a bit from the DS as well. But up top there's the party piece of the unit. It's a widescreen aspect, which I gleefully welcome. But, as I'm sure everyone watching this already knows by now, it's a screen that lets you see stereoscopic 3D images without the need for special glasses. And it is honestly something you really do have to see with your own eyes to believe just how nifty it is. For what should be obvious reasons, I can't actually show you the 3D on camera, but the effect is completely convincing. You do need to have your head in the sweet spot for the effect to work, but in general the distance between you and the unit doesn't matter nearly as much as the horizontal angle at which you're looking at it from. So long as your eyes and the screen are close to parallel with each other, it works a bloody treat. It has to be said that not everyone can actually see the 3D effect. For example, those blind in one eye, or with some other quirk of eyeball, or with slightly unusual wiring in the visual cortex of their brain goo. But for the record, I have slight astigmatism, and with or without my glasses, the 3D effect worked just the same. Although for me, after about 15 minutes of consistent play, I generally find myself turning the 3D effect off for a little while as my eyes start to feel a bit tired. Not painful, and it doesn't distort my vision when I look up or anything like that. They just feel a bit tired, like I've been reading a book for a few hours. Thankfully, turning off the 3D can be done on the fly with the depth slider switch, so you can swap between 2D and 3D pretty much instantly with no interruption to your gaming. If you are one of the few percent of people out there who can't see the 3D effect, or one of the small number of people who can get headaches from it, fear not, because the 3D effect can not only be adjusted for intensity but also turned off completely. But Nintendo themselves have decreed across the land of game developers that all games made for the system must be perfectly playable even in 2D mode. So people who can't see or don't want the 3D effect won't be missing out on any games. The 3D is not, quote, just a gimmick, unquote. It can be used to great effect to enhance gameplay and immersion and fun. And if you don't like it, don't bitch and whinge about it like some feeble little twat. Don't yell into every corner of the internet that it's a stupid gimmick and you hate it, and kids these days with their hula hoops and their rock and roll are just stupid and to get off your grass. Just turn the effect off. The games are still great. The 3D screen aside, let's look at the rest of the system to see if it's actually any good as a gaming device. In short, yes. Yes, it is. In long, with the 3DS, Nintendo have been smart enough not to screw around too much with the design concepts of the DSi. It feels just as comfortable to hold, the directional pad feels about the same, although its priority of position has been shifted in preference to the analog control. The buttons are even better. They all feel very nice and solid. They give a good amount of tactile feedback and have a very satisfying feel to use. Same goes for the shoulder buttons up the top there as well. And then there's that circle pad. This thing is bloody terrific. It's clear that this simple little analog control had a lot of thought put into its design. It feels perfectly comfortable under thumb, even for extended use. It's not too grippy, it's not too slippy. The amount of travel and resistance it has is damn near perfect, and it's brilliantly responsive, even when it comes to games that normally suffer terribly under analog stick control, like Street Fighter, which was born in an era of digital arcade joysticks. The screens are bright and clear. Despite them being surprisingly low in resolution by today's standards, they still get the job done. They are very reflective though, so seeing your own ugly mug as a reflection, or the lights in the ceiling reflected instead of the game, can sometimes be an issue. Fortunately, being a handheld device, if it does become an issue, you can just move your fat ass to somewhere a little more shaded. Still annoying though. I'm not a huge fan of the membrane-style buttons below the bottom screen for Select, Home and Start either. They kind of feel cheap and unpleasant to use. Same goes for the volume slider around the side, but they get the job done, I guess. The stereo speakers on either side of the top screen spit out a clear sound, but perhaps a little bit too quiet. There's a built-in simulated surround sound effect that works quite well too, if you're in an environment quiet enough to be able to hear it. There is, of course, the choice of using headphones. The thing I hate most about the 3DS, though, is the placement of the stylus. It's probably in the most annoying place they could have possibly crammed it. See, the issue is this. Many games don't require you to have the stylus out all the time, so quite often you'll be pulling it out and putting it back repeatedly in a gaming session. This was fine on the DSi, where the stylus was on the side, right under your hand, and was designed to be quickly and easily pulled out. The stylus in the 3DS, however, is on the back, up near the hinge, on the opposite side of the device to where your hand you're trying to grab it with is, and it's a pain in the ass to get out. To date, I have never succeeded in obtaining the stylus when I needed it without having to physically turn the whole unit over so I can see where the bloody crap it is and get my finger under the tiny lip to prise it free, and then you need to extend it to make it long enough to be usable, which again is difficult to do one-handed. Considering all the obvious care and passion that went into the rest of the design, I find this bullcrap kind of idiotic design flaw completely infuriating. I get visibly disappointed and annoyed whenever a piece of software requires me to go hunting for the damn stylus. It's horrible. The battery life is crap. Every review you'll ever read or watch will say the same thing. They know it, I know it, you know it, and I'm sure Nintendo knows it. This is a portable device. It is designed to be taken with you. Hell, Nintendo have even built in stuff like the pedometer reward system and the wireless Street Pass features to encourage you to take it with you everywhere and always, and to reward you for taking it with you everywhere and always. Now, maybe most days you won't have an issue, but if you're on a plane or on a weekend road trip somewhere or wherever, the kinds of long, boring travel time you usually want a portable game device for, it's completely shitty. But I guess accessory manufacturers will be excitedly cashing in with travel charges and extended battery packs and the like, which I'm sure they'll charge a fair price for. So yay for them. Sucks for us though. So, there are some stunningly terrific wins and some maddening irritations about the 3DS. But like all gaming devices, the 3DS will live or die by its software support. With compelling content, many flaws can be forgiven. This early in the 3DS's life, we're only seeing a glimmer of that. I got my review unit with Super Street Fighter 4 and Nintendogs and Cats. Both quite different games, both very, very well executed. Both are highly polished, played well, and were compelling. Both looked great in 3D, but also played perfectly in 2D. Both did what launch titles are supposed to do, and that is to give hope in the future games that will land here. The augmented reality games built into the unit software were also a lot of fun too, and I mean a lot of fun. It's rare that I find myself giggling while playing a game, but these did it. But that said, they are little more than very clever little chunks of, hey, look at this guys, to show off the 3D screen, the 3D cameras and the motion sensors. And these too are merely promises of what the unit is capable of and what software may come. I know I haven't touched much on the cameras. I think I might have a separate video for those, but in essence they're pretty crappy for photographs. Even though 3D photography is fascinating and fun, the quality is a bit lacking, but they are great fun for augmented reality gaming, which is really why they're even there to begin with, so that's fine. There will also be, in the not too distant future, a firmware upgrade to activate the online store where you can start buying virtual console games from the old Game Boy line, and also downloadable content to take advantage of that 3D screen, like 3D movie trailers, and more nifty software features, I'm sure. The long and the short of it is this: the hardware isn't perfect, but the flaws that are there aren't deal breakers. It is a superb evolution of the DS line, and it shows a lot of promise. I think it's safe to say Nintendo have another success on their hands with the 3DS. I'm very much looking forward to first-person shooters and racing games like Mario Kart, where the 3D effect is not only there as a nifty-looking aesthetic, but actually enhances the gameplay experience by really using the sense of depth, distance, and an immersive world. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.